let's discuss a different topic. And topic is I just gotta let's talk about the differences between um uh the motivations of taking a computer science course, particularly in high school, as opposed to studying it on your own. Um, I just felt like talking about it. So let's talk about the question. So let's say you have like a few days to decide what courses to take. Should you take this course or not? Or you have a few days to before you talk to your counselor. You know, decide if you want to remove this course from your so that you instead switch to a different course. So should you take a course in this in high school or not? I don't know what kind of student you are. I don't know if you're the student who wants to apply into these universities to have, or you're a student who doesn't really care if they go to community college or military or whatever. Should you take this course or not? All right. So if you're in an American high school, you probably that uses advanced placement, maybe computer science is offered, or the principal version is offered, or whatever. Or maybe there's like a course that's like honors or like regular or whatever. Should you take that course or not? Or maybe you're the type of person that prefers to study it as extracurricular instead. Um, because you are going to earn a grade for it. Should you take this course or not? I'm assuming you haven't. I'm assuming that we're not going to discuss what any plans of what college you're going to go to, or if you're not going to college. That's a totally different topic for a different video. Let's consider the possibilities. Um, the grading. Um, are there tests or quizzes? You probably don't know that. Maybe you do. Maybe you've talked to the teacher that's going to teach it, and maybe you're given a syllabus or something, so you're aware. Or maybe you're not. Maybe you don't know. Um, you know, should you take this course or not? And I'm like, um, you know, there's many advantages of taking it in high school. Uh, the big disadvantage is that if you end up getting a bad grade, it is important, you know. However, you're not gonna make a decision on things like that. We all know that some students will inevitably get bad grades. And of course, it does matter what their attitude is after they receive that bad grade. Um, usually, you know, that's very important. Many people succeed in life afterwards, usually because they got over a failure in their life, such as getting a bad grade in high school class. And that's definitely one of the things that I've read about. It's called the growth mindset. From Carol I forgot the last name. So, Dweck or something like that. So, um, you know, I'm not surprised because there's a lot of students, they attend the first day of the class and they decide they don't like the class. So maybe they don't like the teacher, maybe they just got a bad feeling out of it. So they go to their counselor and decide to switch to a different class, which I totally understand. You know, that totally makes a lot of sense to switch to a different class in this case. Uh, you know, that, um, in high school, that totally makes sense to register that way. Uh, though I've heard many cases where the counselors are not as responsive, so some high school students don't get that choice. So getting that choice could be a privilege as long as you make the correct choice. that definitely adds a little pressure because you don't want to make the wrong choice. Um, so if the only class offered an advanced placement class, it's not necessarily such a bad thing. It's supposed to be harder than the other choices. They are. Um, so, uh, I've heard that some news schools that you know there may be a shortage of qualified teachers. However, in my experience, that is not as important as you think. What matters is, you know, in my experience, some people click better with certain teachers than others. So I'm taking a completely subjective route that the presence of a teacher that has taught many years or has the proper credentials is not as important. Um, though for a lot of people, that does make a big difference. Um, so there's some people. Oh, I've discussed in another video that there are three approaches to, if you were to drop a class. You could drop a class based upon the holistic route, where you consider all possibilities and you read the syllabus thoroughly. The other route is judging a class based on the textbook only, or if they don't have a textbook. So for example, if their textbook quote is a bunch of PDF, documents. Um, or of course, the other approach is deciding to drop a class mostly because attending the lecture or the class, you don't like the instructor, judging them based on their what they look like, the eye contact and stuff like that. Um, I made a video that I did not. I don't like that approach personally, because um, you know, it's almost because part of school is, in my opinion, is to experience, is to get is to learn the different approaches, and uh, and sometimes you would find that the teacher that lectures like that might be more lenient in grading. Not always, but often. Often, I mean, not like most of the time, but like maybe like 30% or so of the time, you'll find that a teacher that that gives a bad vibe in terms of their lecture, you know, maybe they're more lenient in grading. Or maybe they just give a bad vibe because you know, maybe they like sometimes pick on students or something like that. But it turns out they're actually very lenient in grading. Um, uh, so, oh man, I should have made this video a part two to the other one. There are many different types of high school teachers out there, and and even in high school, a lot of students would judge, based on their first lecture. Though this is more frequent in college. Um, in college, this is more frequent. Now, this is something I've never heard anyone discuss. I've read books about college. I could give some examples from in the description, and I guarantee I've never heard anyone, zero, except one, which is the Logic Junkie, but he's a YouTuber. Well, he didn't really discuss this topic specifically, but we discussed something very similar to it. And I've really not found anybody. I've not read a single book on this. And I'm like, I've read a fair amount of books, and I've not read a single book that discussed this. I'm not gonna. Now, perhaps there is uh, uh, actually, I have. This is a book called Blink by Malcolm Gladwell, but the topic wasn't about. Actually, was the topic about college professors? I can't remember what it was about. It was about something. I can't remember. I think it was an example from a research study, but it didn't have anything to do with college. it was just it's just some professor they looked at someone's eye or something like that, and then it's uh something about first impressions. That's kind of common sense. But I never read a book that talked about college preparation and preparing for college and stuff like that that discussed this. And it's serious. That is a big topic. It's the decision to drop a class, and switch to another class based on,